All right. Happy Friday, everybody. It's actually 5:13 Eastern when I'm doing this, April 16th, 2021. Glenn Stein, Realty Executives in the Villages and Ocala. I want to give you an overview about what's going on in the marketplace, specifically here in the Villages and overall just about everywhere. Have that specific knowledge because I'm also a coach for the Tom Ferry organization, coach a lot of real estate agents and brokers around the country. Have over 40 clients that are anywhere from Alaska all the way to the Cayman Islands. And obviously heavily in depth with working with my people here locally and understand the market intimately for sure. Let's start with the beginning let's start with the beginning, which is what you typically do, right? You start with the beginning. The market is saying this: 47 active properties, 74 pendings, right? 47 active properties the last 7 days have come on the market. 74 went under contract. We saw a little bit of a blip a week ago. I don't remember the exact numbers, but the numbers were such that maybe about 29 new properties on the marketplace and probably about 35 to 40 that went under contract, which is the smallest margin or the smallest margin that we've seen probably all year in 2021, meaning that the inventory continues to drop, meaning that the market is becoming more and more competitive. And I'm like delivering this news. Like my wife said the other day, you're being negative about this. Well, it's not about negativity. It's about delivering information. This is what's going on in the marketplace. And I feel like my job, being in the position that I'm in, being the broker of Realty Executives in the Villages, is to deliver what it means, just essentially read the tea leaves, so to speak. So when we're looking at these numbers, obviously the inventory dropping um, basically means that it's becoming more competitive when you're putting in an offer, meaning that you might have to pay a little bit more than what you might have paid for a particular home 3, 4 months ago, because we have seen appreciation, probably a 10 to 15% appreciation, since last year, and inventory dropping by about 65 to 70% on the villages, and in MLS for the Villages, Florida. So, that's basically what we're seeing. And I also anticipate the prices will go up moving forward. That's what I see. But a lot of the questions I get, probably the number one question is, are we seeing, is this a housing bubble or a housing crash, right? Housing bubble or housing crash. And I'm going to say no. And the reason is this. First of all, this is very different than what we saw in 2007, 8, 9, where we did see a crash, but that was mainly investor driven. There are a couple of factors that are really driving this. Obviously, interest rates is one. A second one is obviously the fact that we're seeing a record number of baby boomers actually retiring. We're also seeing a collision course with COVID and pent up demand. A lot of people were not buying last year here specifically because they were in quarantine and didn't feel safe. And now the vaccine is out, people a little bit safer, feeling safer about things. And we know the story about COVID and all that. But there's another factor that a lot of people don't realize, and specifically in our area that obviously is mostly, not all, but mostly is 55 plus. And the situation is millennials are driving this marketplace. And you might say, wait a second, wait, you're in Florida, specifically the Villages where 95% of the people that live here are over 55, and of course you can't be under 18 and live here. You can be under 55, but this is mostly a this is a retirement community for the most part, right? It's a retirement community. And because of that, typically in 55 plus communities or retirement communities like this, adult communities, typically there's a lot more supply than demand. The Villages is probably one of the most unique places in the world because there's so many activities, so many things happening here, over 2,000 different activities and golf courses, and there's just so much here. Definitely, retirement's been reinvented here. For that matter, for that fact, that basically tells us, you know what, we're definitely see more demand than supply. That's been the case pretty much from the inception of the Villages, and we've been here since 2004. with this company here, Realty Executives in the Villages, being in existence and being number one in the MLS marketplace and being the leaders in the marketplace for a lot of different reasons, not just, in what we do around the community, but also in volume. That being the case, we have to look at some other things that are happening, because we have seen a 70% reduction in inventory. So what is really driving this? What's the big factor? And here's some statistics that I think are really important to know. There are over 80 million millennials in the country right now, 80 million millennials. And according to stats, they're basically saying that 70% of these millennials will be buying over the next 2 to 3 years. And that's over 50 million people that are going to be buying a property somewhere around the country that are in that millennial age, mid-20s all the way to about 40 years old. That's approximately what we're looking at. And we're seeing a severe shortage of inventory around the country. The inventory around the country and new construction around the country that's been developed, or new inventory, has been very minimal compared to the numbers of people that are buying. So I don't have the exact numbers of new construction over the last 10, 12 years, but it's probably in that 20 million range. That being the case, it's definitely far short. If it's not 20 million, definitely far short of what the millennials are actually driving in demand. That is the reason why in many places around the country, and I've got clients in Fairbanks, Alaska, I've got clients in Southern California, Northern California, Montana, the Midwest, Wichita, Kansas, up in the Northeast, up in the South, down in the Southeast, down in Texas, so all over the place, right? And pretty much without, except for New York City. New York City is more of a balanced marketplace. Pretty much what we're seeing right now is we're seeing definitely a shortage. We're seeing anywhere between 5 to 50 buyers for every single property. Obviously, there's a shortage. The one opportunity that we're seeing around the country, and I've had this conversation with my client in Portland and in DC, in District of Columbia, is the condo market has suffered a bit in the inner cities for obvious reasons. People, because of COVID, they want to be away from the cities, and they want more space and all that thing. That's a different video. But specifically, the millennials are driving the demand for housing around the country. So what happens is, since we're seeing so many buyers for housing around the country, people that are wanting to retire, the baby boomers, they're getting top dollar, above top dollar. Like top dollar might be 600,000 in their minds, and guess what? Now they're getting 650. So they're getting even more money. So that's what's driving this marketplace. And what we're seeing now in the villages, we're seeing more cash buyers, and we've always seen cash buyers, but cash is definitely king. The unfortunate circumstance for many buyers around the country is that VA and FHA is not winning. The first-time home buyers are really suffering. They're just going to have to rent a little bit longer and save their money. But millennials are really, really driving the marketplace. Now, the other question that we have to look at is, okay, are we seeing some kind of housing crash, right? Is a housing crash about to happen? Because we do have to really pay attention to this. And a lot of people are thinking, okay, we can blame the millennials. We blame the millennials for a lot of things. But millennials are really driving in a big way. They're driving the real estate market around the country, and they're helping many people get more money for their dollar, for their home, and hence they're able to buy more here in our area. That's why the millennials are related to what's happening here in the villages, with inventory being probably, we're looking at record lows. We haven't seen this number of this many homes on the market probably since, I want to say 2012 or 2013. So it's an 8 or 9 year run where we haven't seen this kind of inventory low. That being the case, the question of, is this a housing crash? Are we in a housing bubble? What's going to happen? Some people that are waiting on the sidelines and thinking, I'm just going to wait for things to cool off. And I think that's okay, by the way. We're recommending that to certain people, like especially first-time home buyers and VA, FHA in my other market in Ocala, not necessarily here in the villages, but people that are younger and they're looking for their first home. It may make sense for them to wait. I don't see prices coming down simply because the drive for housing, the need for housing, based on my explanation before, is really telling me that housing prices are not going to come down, meaning we're not going to see a crash and I don't think we're seeing a housing bubble. And that's really the reason why I think it may plateau a bit. We may see a little bit of a flattening at some point, maybe if interest rates go up, perhaps, but I see prices going straight through the roof for sure. So if you have questions about the market, or if you disagree with me, it's okay, by the way. It's all right. I don't know much about much except this. This is like, I feel like if I'm wrong about this, I guess I really don't know anything. Really study this, and I'm really paying attention to what's happening to other places around the country, and in other parts of Florida, and of course in our area, and what our agents are seeing. So if you need a name to connect with, if you're looking for a real estate professional in our area in the Villages or in Ocala, let me know. I can tell you who you need to talk to. My number is 352-572-3796, and maybe somebody's calling me right now. 352-572-3796. Or if you're from Albany and you're trying to catch me, I'll connect with you momentarily. So 352-572-3796. If you want to research pretty much any property from Ocala, which is north of us, to the Villages, to south to Tampa, and Orlando, and down the west coast of Florida, you can go to Buy Sell the Villages. You're seeing it here on the screen, buysellthevillages.com. And we would be happy to help and happy to assist. My name is Glenn, and I will see you shortly. Hopefully everybody has a great weekend. Take care.